On May 26, 1994, Michael and Lisa were finally married in the Dominican Republic after a brief and, according to her, uneventful courtship. Lisa's divorce from Danny Glogg had been finalized 20 days earlier. Lisa's mother Priscilla had married the most famous singer of her time back in 1967, and now Lisa followed suit with a man who was arguably pop music's biggest star. Though Michael and Lisa claimed to be crazy about one another, much of the public just thought they were crazy. I actually did fall in love with them, she told Newsweek in the spring of 2003, but I don't know what was on his menu. The close relationship they had forged during the time of the allegations was known only to those in Michael's and Lisa's inner circles. The two had managed to keep the fact that they even knew each other out of the press. Therefore, when they married, it was like a bolt from the blue. Lisa was in love with Michael. Did he feel the same about her? Always painfully cautious of the emptiness of his life, he said that he'd been missing out on too much and wanted to now jumpstart his life. After the Jordan and Taylor business, the gnawing, empty space in his heart somehow seemed more terrifying than ever. He was determined to now start living, he insisted, and at the time, that meant being in love with a woman, marrying and having children with her. Lisa Marie Presley was that woman. When he nearly lost everything because of the allegations and then the drug abuse, he was determined to set things straight, recalled one of his associates. He may have been in love with her, I don't know. I think he was actually in love with what she represented, comfortability and kids. Everyone who knew him felt it was too soon after rehab for him to be jumping into a marriage, especially since he'd never been married and had no idea what he was doing. I knew he wasn't emotionally equipped for it. I also think the physical relationship was a powerful tool in convincing him that yes, she was the one. However, as far as I know, she had been the only one. Michael was deeply disappointed in the wedding ceremony, he later admitted. He is romantic. He always hoped for a grand, opulent, and loving affair, like Jermaine's wedding happened so many years earlier. It was significant to him that he one day have a ceremony to join him with someone he loved and to express his affection for that person before family and friends. Sure, he had romanticized the notion over the years, but so what? People have gone throughout the ages and have seen those dreams become reality in their lives. Michael never imagined what he would run off and marry a person in secret as if ashamed of his relationship. What Michael and Lisa ended up was a 15-minute ceremony in front of a judge in his home in Las Vegas, 85 miles east of Costa de Compa, a resort owned by fashion designer Oscar de la Renta, where Michael and Lisa had sequestered themselves in a $4,000 a night oceanfront villa. The ceremony was conducted in Spanish and translated to Michael and Lisa by one of the attorneys present. Instead of the tuxedo he had dreamed of wearing on his wedding day, Michael wore black pants and matching shirt with a cowboy belt, bolero, and a black flamenco hat. Lisa also wore black. They exchanged heavy gold wedding bands. Michael later said he missed having Catherine present and, to some extent, even Joseph. It just didn't feel right, he said. It felt empty, like everything else in my world. Rather than blame his frustration on his and Lisa's lack of preparation for the event, Michael blamed it on the media, saying that there was no way he could have had the ritual of his dreams because the press would have made it a fiasco. It was a shame, felt those who knew him and cared for him, that he kept missing out on a good and fulfilling life because of his celebrity, and that he continued to blame such indeligibles as the media for his grief over it. After all, his friend Elizabeth Taylor managed to have big and wonderful wedding ceremonies along the way. Perhaps it's a clue to their insecurity about what they were doing that Michael and Lisa didn't warn their families and friends about the wedding. Last someone tried to induct them to reverse their decision. It wasn't a surprise, perhaps, that Michael didn't confide in Catherine, Joseph, or his siblings, considering his complex relationship with them. However, that he didn't tell Elizabeth Taylor in advance was really startling, especially to her. When Michael finally telephoned Elizabeth from the Dominican Republic to give her the news, she was so distraught she spent the next day on the telephone with friends, saying that she was, as she put it, so worried about Michael. I don't know what to do. I'm pulling my hair out over it. What has he done? What has he done? That night, Elizabeth was with friends at the Apollo Lounge in the Beverly Hills Hotel, when a reporter asked her if she would confirm rumors of Michael's marriage. She snapped at him. I am not in the business of clarifying rumors. Now be gone. The fact that Lisa kept the news from her mother Priscilla, to whom she is close, also spoke volumes. It would be almost a week before Lisa confirmed to her frantic mother that she had married Michael Jackson. Feeling strongly that Michael was exploiting her daughter and using her to rehabilitate his damaged image, Priscilla was not happy about the news. Can you see what he's up to? She asked her, according to what Lisa later recalled. It's so obvious. Lisa disagreed. She had felt that Michael truly loved her. He had said as much as she had no choice. She felt but to take him at his word. I can't say what his intentions were with me, but I can say it was the most real thing I think he's had, Lisa noted in the spring of 2003. My mother was like, timing, hello. But I rebelled against my mom, of course, and tried really hard not to think like that, not to believe that. My God, use your instincts, Priscilla admonished her. She could not believe her daughter would marry, of all people in the planet, Michael Jackson. What does your gut tell you? It tells me that you should mind your own goddamn business, Lisa shot back. It's time for me to lead my own life and for you to stay out of it. Clearly, she and Priscilla had issues and predated her image to Michael. Also, her sexual chemistry with Michael was so intense, Lisa was about to give it up. All I wanted at the time was to believe that he was telling me, and that was it. It was this whole psychodrama that was going on, and I really put my mother through it. She thought he was lying to me, using me. Lisa's ex-husband, Danny, still a trusted friend, was also unhappy about the union. He knew her then to drag her into a fight about it, though. However, he told her that he was concerned about her and about their children. It seemed to him, as it did to everyone else in her life, that she made a big mistake. Michael decided that he didn't want to announce the marriage. He said he wanted them to have their privacy. However, Lisa disagreed. The more we hide, the more interest there will be in it, she argued. Should we just announce it so the interest will die down? She didn't know Michael very well, did she? Of course, what he really wanted to do was to create a big worldwide controversy about his relationship with her. He just couldn't help himself. His strategy worked. For the next 2 months, the press ran with headlines speculating as to whether or not Michael and Lisa had been married. Meanwhile, the two took a duplex apartment suite in Trump Tower in New York, directly below Donald Trump's, while Michael began work on a new album, History. If Lisa thought she was famous before, she would discover an entirely new and unwelcome sort of celebrity as Michael's wife. One of his bodyguards remembered it was chaos with the media and fans suspecting the newlyweds were in the suite, but not able to confirm it. One morning we were getting ready to leave, and Mike had to explain the strategy involved in getting them out of there. He didn't want them seen either. For him, everything was a big drama. Nothing could just occur easily. It had to unfold with lots of bedlam and confusion. That's just what he used to, and I think he thrives on it. As Michael was putting on his hat and his surgical mask and his sunglasses and his makeup, he explained to Lisa, "See, first you leave, and they'll take you downstairs in the back, and then whoosh, off you'll go in the car with the smoky windows. Then I will do the same, and we'll meet up later, and nobody will be the wiser." He seemed to lie about the intrigue. He was all ready to go, looking like Michael Jackson looks with the mask on his face and hat on top of his head, said the bodyguard. She sized him up from head to toe and said, "No, screw this." And she just got to the front elevator and went down to the lobby alone. He started screaming, "Lisa, no, it's angels out there to eat you alive." Then he turned to me and said, "Don't just stand there, you big idiot. Follow her." So I raced out after her in another elevator. When I got there, she was gone. When I went back up and told Michael, he freaked out. "My poor wife, she's been kidnapped," he said, acting like the biggest drama queen ever. "How will I live with myself? Call the police," she shrieked. "No, call the FBI. No, call the CIA," I said. "Look, man, she's probably in a coffee shop somewhere eating a donut. Let me find her." I did find her an hour later in a bar down the street having a martini with some guy she just met, and it was 10 in the morning. I thought to myself, what a matchup this is. Finally, in July, Michael and Lisa announced that they'd been married the previous May. When I appeared in the news program Good Morning America to report on the news of Michael's marriage, I joked that the newlyweds are registered at Toys R Us. There was, I felt at the time, little choice but to remain light about the subject. The reaction to the news had been so cynical. After the show was broadcast, I received a telephone call from an irate Michael. "How could you see that?" he demanded. "How could you make light of my marriage? I love Lisa. Why don't people believe that? Why don't people let me be happy?" "You have to understand that it seemed odd," I explained. "The marriage came out of nowhere. There are people who don't believe it's legitimate." "You know what? I don't care what people think," Michael said angrily. "She's my life. I love her." I took the opportunity to ask Michael a few questions about the relationship. Did he and Lisa have a principal agreement? "No way," he said. "What kind of marriage would that be?" "Was Lisa pregnant, as been reported?" "No," he said, "but we want children and we will have children, but don't rush me," he said, now giggling. There have been recent reports that Lisa had plastic surgery in a Los Angeles hospital. Her chest enlarged and a liposuction on her hips at Michael's behest. It was preposterous, but I decided to ask him about it anyway. "Ridiculous," he told me. "Just try telling Lisa Marie what to do. It will never happen. I will not be able to convince her to do anything. The truth," he said, "is that she had scar tissue removed from a appendectomy and dermabrasion on her face to get rid of old acne scars." He also volunteered an etiquette about giving her an engagement ring after his telephone proposal once they were in Los Angeles together. "Lisa and I were in the living room at Neverland having a glass of wine," he said. "We had just finished watching All About Eve, starring the great Bette Davis. We both loved that movie. I walked over to her, reached into my pocket, and pulled out this huge diamond ring. "So what do you think?" I asked her. "You wanna?" She screamed out, "Yes, yes, yes." "So anyway, I gotta go," he concluded. "Just tell people to leave us alone, will you?" "We're happy. That should be the end of it." As it turned out, even though Lisa was in love with Michael, she, not he, was the one with certain goals she hoped to achieve as a result of the marriage. Chief among them was the realization of her musical career. "Michael told Lisa that he would attempt to get her a record deal at Sony," said her friend, Monica Pastel. "Yes, she loved him. She didn't marry him because of the offer to help her career, but it was on the table as something he was going to work for her." For the next year, the newlyweds divided their time between Michael's 2,700-acre ranch in Santa Ynez, California, and Lisa's one-acre estate in Hidden Hills, 100 miles away. Some thought Lisa and her two children will move into Neverland. No chance. She wanted to maintain her independence. Plus, her kids thought Michael was a little strange, especially 5-year-old Danielle. No matter how hard he tried with her, Michael would never win over the girl. He was usually so good with children, but not with Danielle. She would take one look at him, squeal, and run into the other direction. What I do? What I do? Michael would ask. Therefore, whenever Lisa and her offspring went to stay in Neverland, she would tell her housekeeper, just pack our toothbrushes and a few comfortable pairs of walking shoes, 'cause I don't think we'll be staying very long. Once she started living with him in their residences, Lisa was even more amazed at the degree to which Michael was emotionally repressed. Determined to fix him, she busily went about the work of peeling away layer after layer as if he were an onion. However, it was difficult. The protective layers around him were thick and impenetrable. It had taken years for him to become who he was, and he wasn't going to easily change. He didn't want to become more communicative as Lisa had insisted. He didn't want to become more extrovert either, as she had suggested. Most maddening to Lisa, her new husband continually blamed other people for problems that were currently of his own making. Lisa, a Scientologist, maintained that she was the architect of her own life and had no one to blame but herself for the aspects of it that had not worked out for her. When her first marriage to Dana Clark ended, she didn't blame the press or her fame. She blamed herself and later felt that she had made a critical mistake in ending it. She wished she could go back, but she couldn't, so she moved forward and found a way to incorporate Danny into her life as a best friend. Lisa felt Michael was too much into playing the victim, said Michael Pastel. Maybe it was understandable, given all he'd been through in the last year. Their relationship became strained as she tried to prod him along, make him feel less sorry for himself, lift his spirits. She said he was like a young boy angry at the world. She had no patience at all with the lost childhood routine. Who hasn't had a miserable childhood, she would say. Show me someone who loved every single second of their childhood, and I'll show you a person who has deluded himself into believing such a thing.